my name is Kaido, and welcome to the Pantheon, where Innistrad has given us, plenty of terrifying delights, but, now we've got a sort of regular human. It's Vadrik, Astral Archmage. 3 mana for a 1/2 human wizard. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes day as it enters the battlefield. So day and night, it flips backwards and forwards. It's day. You cast no spells, it becomes night. If it's night, you cast 2 spells, or somebody does, and it becomes day, and it just flip-flops backwards and forwards. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is Vadrik's power. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, put a 1/1 counter on Vadrik. So the real sort of meat of this deck, I'm not interested in the day or night sort of thing. I think it's just all a bit gimmicky. But that cost reduction, instant sorcery spells you cost X less, is amazing, and it's all dependent on this commander's power. So there's quite a few cool things we can do with that. So come and join me and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But first, please subscribe to my channel if you like these videos. Going to make one of these for every single legendary creature, and there's quite a few of them. So without further ado, let's have a look at my top 5 for Vadrik. And then at number 5, what have we got? Well, we've got Baral, Chief of Compliance, and just general cost reduction effects, because Baral, you might have played against a Baral deck, it's utterly miserable, lots of counter spells, and that's not where I'm going with it. But the cost reduction on the instant sorceries, I want to cast big instants and sorceries and get a lot of, sweet effects from that. So 2 mana, instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So just as a baseline, this is what our commander is going to be doing. Then whenever a spell or ability you control cancels a spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So that looting effect isn't that relevant in my build. You could put a lot of counters into this deck if you so desired, but it's not for me. Then another couple of great cost reductions: the Goblin Electromancer, 2 mana for a 2/2. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And that's just going to help so much. It's acting as ramp, and ramp is very key to commander. So this is a great include. Then there's Primal Amulet, which is a flip card. 4 mana for an artifact. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Primal Amulet. Then, if there are 4 more charge counters on it, you may remove those counters and transform it. It transforms into a land that you can tap it, make a mana of any colour, and if you use that mana to cast an instant sorcery spell, you copy it. Ooh, that's pretty good, isn't it? So this is just great cost reducer, and then you get a nice payoff where you're going to double your spells. And as you'll see coming up, we've got a lot of very big spells. Finally, we've got Arcane Melee. 5 mana for an enchantment. Instant sorcery spells you cost 2 less to cast. Now that's pretty goddamn good. That reduction is pretty meaty. And, our commander, if it will get removed. And if we don't, it's nice to have things like this, nice backup to make sure we're, doing what the deck wants to do. Which brings me on to my number 4. And at number 4, we've got Reckless Charge. So our commander cares about his power. He's a powerful man. And we want to increase that power as cheaply as possible, because then it will reduce all of our other instant sorceries massively. So, Reckless Charge, and also, if we're increasing the power of a commander, a lot, well, maybe we can kill someone with it. Reckless Charge, 1 red for a sorcery. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. So, if this is targeting our commander, that's going to reduce all of our instant sorceries by 3 mana. Every single one of them. So for 1 red, we're getting a 3 mana reduction on everything for that turn. And it gives our commander haste. And it's got flashback. So for 3 mana, we can give a reduction of 3 to everything else that we're going to be casting. So easily that's going to stack up and get us a ridiculous amount of value. This card is amazing in the deck. Then, similarly, we've got Seething Anger, 1 red for a sorcery with buyback for 3. Target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn. So what for 1 red, a nice reduction. Or you could cast it for 4 mana and get it back to your hand so you can use it next turn to get a reduction of 3, which will add up if you're casting multiple spells in a turn. If you're just casting 1, yes, okay, it's not the best, but cast a lot of them and you're going to have a ridiculous amount of reduction. Then we've got Brutal Force, 1 red for an instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn. It's the giant growth in red. Ooh, saucy. And this is the sort of card that I love to see in Commander. It's something you wouldn't generally play in Commander, but in this deck, it fits so well. Similarly, there's Infuriate, 1 red for an instant. Target creature gets +3% until end of turn. Pretty good. The cool thing about having all of these instant speed pump spells is if your opponents go to remove our commander with, something, maybe a lightning bolt, something similar to that, you can pump it in response and say, no, you're not killing my commander today. Then there's Fist of Flames, which is a great buff spell and also a card draw engine. Well, could be if you were copying it and stuff like that. 2 mana for an instant, draw a card until end of turn. Target creature gains trample and gets +1/+0 for each card you've drawn this turn. So 2 mana, quite the investment, really, in this sort of deck. But if our commander's on the field, it's going to reduce it to a single red, thanks to its, having base 1 power. And then, as you're going to see in a minute, there's a lot of ways to draw a lot of cards with our commander on the field. So this is a great way of finishing the deck. Then there's Borrowed Hostility, 1 red for an instant. It's got Escalate, so you can pay 3 to get both of these effects. Target creature gets +3% until end of turn. Target creature gains first strike until end of turn. So honestly, is the first strike going to be all that relevant? No. But this is just a great spell. 1 mana. It's a dark ritual for every other instant sorcerer. It fits the deck wonderfully. Then there's Inside Out. 2 mana for an instant, so 1 mana with our commander on the field. Switch target creature power and toughness until end of turn. Draw a card. So, 1 mana, draw a card. Nice bit of cycling action. Best mechanic ever printed. But, our commander's a 1/2, so flip it into a 2/1. So if you start off on this, you've already got another reduction there. It's just a nice little card to put in the deck with great, great art. Which brings me on to number 3. And at number 3, there's Blazing Shoal. And these are like X spells that really pump toughness. No, power. No, screw toughness. We don't need toughness while we're going. But this one is so cool. It's part of an old modern Infect deck that, got destroyed. And I think this is banned in modern, actually. Double red and X for an instant. It's arcane. You may remove a red card with converted mana cost X from your hand rather than pay Blazing Shoal's mana cost. So there are a lot of big spells in this deck. So that mode could actually be very useful for making our commander massive and giving us an enormous reduction. Then target creature gets +X/+0 until end of turn. So the really awesome thing is if our commander's got up to like a 10/2 or something ridiculous, that X, if we want to cast X is 10, will cost us 0. So for double red, this will give +10%. So this sort of spell just scales so well, and the fact we can cast it for free is just insane. Which brings me on to Unwilling Recruit, another very cool version of this. Triple red, so a bit of investment in X. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gets +X%, gains haste until end of turn. So, as a baseline, if you just want to pay triple red, this is a nice threat and effect. You steal an opponent's creature. Brilliant. But the really cool thing about this is you could steal your opponent's creature. Maybe they're playing an Infect deck. You steal them, infect them to death, say, no, I'm sick of this, Jonathan. Stop it. Or you can target your commander with this and give our commander +X/+0 because it's not an opponent controls. You can target your own creature, give it haste, and then swing in with a massive commander. This is a great versatile card. And the artwork, look at him, he's just holding that little goblin thing. Amazing. Then there's Boluvian Rage, a red and X for an instant. Target attacking creature gets +X% until end of turn. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. So this will allow us to, keep drawing cards, but it has to be an attacking creature. So our commander has to get into the red zone. We do want to do that, we do want to kill our opponents, but all these cards are not pumping toughness. So you've got to be swinging it like an open opponent, which could... yeah, it could not be great. Then a brand new card here, Lunar Frenzy, a red and X for an instant. Target creature you control gets +X%, gains first strike until end of turn. So the reduction from our commander is incredible with that, and it could lead us to just killing someone out of nowhere with our commander. Which brings me on to number 2. And at number 2, well, we've reduced, we made our commander pretty massive, all of our spells are reduced massively. Let's draw some cards. Drowning Dreams, brand new card here. 3 mana and X, a blue and 2 colours. Instant, choose one. If you control a commander, as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Target player draws X cards. I'm going to pick me on that one. Target player mills twice X cards. So, our commander, if it's a 10/2, 10/2, 10 to what? Time-based humour. So if our commander is reducing everything by 10, it costs 10 less. That means that as a baseline, it's going to be a single blue, to draw 8 cards and mill someone for 16. Easily, if you've got a bunch of mana, you can pump that up so you could drawing 20 cards, your opponent's a milling 40. Oh, this card is incredible. And all of these are X spells which just work incredibly with this deck. Pull from tomorrow, double blue and X, draw X cards, then discard a card at instant speed. So this is just going to allow us to filter through the deck, get tons and tons of cards, and then kill everyone with that advantage. This card's not that great with all these X spells in the deck, but it's a direction you could go down. Epic Experiment is a blue and a red and an X. Sorcery, exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast instant sorcery cards with mana value X or less from them without paying their mana cost. Then put all cards exiled away that weren't cast into your graveyard. The negative thing about this is if you're revealing all these X spells, you're going to cast them for 0. So, not that good, but if you're going down the more direction of just casting massive spells that aren't X spells, this is a great card to put in because you're going to dig really deep and then cast a ton of them. Then, this is a really cool one. Flowstone Slide, double red and 2 and an X. For a sorcery, all creatures get plus X minus X until end of turn. So that's really cool. So if you've bumped your commander's toughness, maybe you've got a couple of equipment on it or something like that, this could keep our commander alive, make its power even greater, kill all of your opponent's creatures, and then we could swing in for lethal. Really, really cool sort of board wipe. I like this card for the deck. Then there's Epiphany at the Drown Yard. Ooh, what happened here? 1 blue for an X instant. Reveal the top X plus 1 cards of your library and separate them into 2 piles. An opponent chooses one of those piles, put the pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. So yes, your opponent does get to choose what you're having, but we're going to get a ton of card advantage from this. So a really great card to include. Then one of my favorite cards recently, Thassa's Intervention. Double blue and X for an instant. Choose one, look at the top X cards of your library, put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. That could possibly be double blue, look at the top 10 cards, get 2 of them. It's ridiculous how much value you can get. Then the other mode, counter target spell unless its controller pays twice X. So a nice little counter spell on the flip side. Then finally, Stroke of Genius, a worse version than the card that I showed at the start. Amazing card as this is, it's exactly the same, except target player just draws X cards. It's not got the mill thing added onto it. So a great include for the deck. Which brings me on to number 1. And at number 1, well, what have we got? We've got massive spells. Our commander is going to be reducing everything by a ton. So this could be Expropriate double blue. Christ, that's broken. How ridiculous. But what is it? It's a sorcery with Cancel's Dilemma. Starting with you, each player votes for time or money. For each time vote, take an extra turn after this one. For each money vote, choose a permanent owned by a voter and gain control of it. Exile Expropriate. So you could potentially be taking tons of extra turns or getting a ton of your opponent's creatures or planeswalkers or lands, if you so desire, for just double blue. Phenomenal. Absolutely incredible in the deck. I love it. It's just so, so good. Then there's Magma Opus, a blue and a red and 6 for an instant. Deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Tap 2 target permanents, creates a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token and draw 2 cards. Or you can pay 2, discard it to create a treasure token. If you really want to sort of get a bit of mana fixing early or, a ramp into something. For 2 mana, you're getting a lot of things there. I'm not going to deny it. It draws you cards. It gets you through the deck. It's just insane. And then if we're casting all these big spells, let's cast them again. Triple blue and 6, Mnemonic Deluge. Sorcery, exile target instant sorcery card from your graveyard. Copy that card 3 times. Trips. You may cast the copies without paying their mana cost. Exile it. So if a Magma Opus, you get 3 of them. So you're going to be dealing 12 damage, drawing 6 cards. You get God knows how many elementals. It's a phenomenal card. And just for triple blue with our commander's reduction. Then there's Apex of Power, which is me on a weekend. God, 10 mana, triple red and 7, so 3 mana essentially for a sorcerer. Exile the top 7 cards of your library. Until end of turn, you may cast spells from among them. If the spell is cast from your hand, add 10 mana of any one colour. So this could be triple red, add 10 mana, exile the top 7 cards, play them all this turn. Amazing card. Absolutely insane. Then there's Fine Mind Foresight. To figure out what you need to do, you need to speak to a dragon. You go, oh, you need to cast instants and sorceries. 7 mana, so 2 mana for an instant. Search your library for an instant card with convert mana cost 3. So that gets us that draw spell that I showed you that mills. Reveal it, put it into your hand. Then repeat the process for an instant sorcery card with convert mana cost 2 and 1. So amazing card, gets you all the things you could ever want. Then I like having turns. Let's take another one. Beacon of Tomorrows, 8 mana, or 2 mana with our commander if it's big enough. Sorcery, target player takes an extra turn after this one. I generally choose myself for that one. Shuffle it into its owner's library so we could tutor it up, you know, recast it. Amazing, amazing card. And finally, we've got Animatu's Augury. 8 mana, or 2 mana if you will. For a sorcerer, exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield until end of turn. For each non-land card type, you may cast a card of that type from among exile cards without paying its mana cost. Oh, this just digs so deep, can get you so many things, lots of artifact ramp. Amazing. Amazing. And it can go to the graveyard when, you know, so you can flash it back with like Mnemonic Deluge on a Past in Flames, stuff like that. Such a great, great card. And those are my top 5 cards for this commander. Really quite cool, you know. I like a nice reduction. It's really awesome that it's such a big reduction as well, and it allows you to play some interesting cards. Like, who would ever play Infuriate in a commander deck? But here, it's a dark ritual for every instant sorcery that turn. It's an amazing and cool way to build a deck. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please do like, comment, subscribe, send a picture of this to your grandma. And when I say this, I mean me, I guess. Actually, don't do that. Don't send your grandma pictures of me. That would be very, very strange. Anyway, thanks. Bye.